Hello everyone, welcome to Adobe Life. My name is Julia Masalska and I'm your host. And I'm hosting the amazing Kladi from Printmysoul.
Hi, Julie. How's it going? Nice to see you. I'm super happy to be here with you. And hello, everybody. So nice
Hi
to
everybody
be
in the
back.
chat. We have Uduval, Elizabeth, Carol, and Wade. And Felipe is here and Steve. So many amazing people. Thanks everyone for joining. All right, we are celebrating women this whole week. We're so excited to be working on women-related projects and just celebrating. As you can see, Kladi is already dressed up today as one of her favorite females. Kladi, you want to say more about what you're going to be working on today?
Absolutely. So I really love to be inspired about other amazing women. And there are so many. During the other stream on the Creative Challenge a couple of days ago, I give a shout out to you and to many other designers. So if you haven't seen that stream, make sure to go and check it out, because there are so many wonderful women right now out in the scene that are inspiring. But one of my heart, as many of the amazing people that already guessed in the chat, is Frida Kahlo. I love Frida for many different reasons, and we're gonna go a little bit more in depth into during our stream and during our conversation. So we're gonna create a digital sign. I'm gonna recreate a version of my plant book. So we're not gonna create a book about Frida, but I'm gonna be inspired by Frida. So we're gonna be looking at her life, her colors, her painting, but also her house, her dresses. So we're going to be inspired by inspiring women, because we're all super powerful and super inspiring.
Yeah, awesome. Hi, everyone who is joining us. Let us know where you all are tuning in from. Chris is saying, hi, Claudia and Julia. Hi, Chris. Fergie saying, love the look, Claudia. Yes, and me too. I think it looks so cute on you. All right, cool. All right, so let us know where you all are tuning in from. Let's get started, Kladi. Let's jump right into it and yeah, share something about you.
Absolutely. So first of all, I'm super happy to be here. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Kladi, and I'm an Italian designer based in Manchester, UK, where I run a design studio called Printmysoul. I've prepared this little slide that you can see here. So you can find me at Printmysoul throughout pretty much all the social media. So I'm on Behance, I'm on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook at Printmysoul. That's where you mainly see the work that I do with my clients. And this crazy photo, I don't know if you can see it, Julie, is like
Yeah.
me jumping upside down, is actually a photo that I took a while ago in San Jose when I was in the amazing Photoshop floor. So the room is actually upside down and it creates this amazing effect. So my life is all about, creating astonishing visual. And that's why I chose this photo to represent myself, because I really think that it does create an impact. Although I was just jumping. So awesome. I wasn't really upside down. The second part.
I love this picture so much. I think it looks so dynamic and so cool.
Thank you so much. The second part of what I do is iamkladi.com. So I just don't want anybody to get confused. Printmysoul.com is where you can see, and probably I should jump on it real quick so we can have a look. So printmysoul.com is where you see my work done for clients. So I've done a internal website for Adobe for their content design system. I work with a lot of the entertainment and hospitality, so restaurants, bars, and of course you can find more about my book. And I also design apps, and that's where in general you can see what's going on from my client side. And if you click on news, you can also see all the amazing creative journey with Adobe Live, and of course other event that I run with my studio Printmysoul. Like one highlight that I gotta mention was I had the fantastic opportunity to teach Photoshop and Illustrator at Capitol Hill in Washington DC, which was a mind-blowing experience that I nearly passed, Julie. I almost ignored the lovely lady that contacted me because I thought it wasn't real. So that happened. I was like, no, she should not be messaging me. And
The
she was like,
same
Kladi.
happened. The same thing happened to me when Adobe Live reached out to me for the first time. I was also like, "Yeah, that can be real, but what do I have to lose?" Right?
Yeah, at least you replied, right? I didn't. I didn't reply for like 2 months. And she was like, Kladi, I mean, can you suggest us someone else if you're busy? And I was like, oh gosh. But yeah, so that's my client side and the work that I do for the clients that hire me in my studio to develop graphics. I Am Kladi is more my instructor side, which has been pretty much growing since I started here at Adobe Live. And by the way, Julie, now today, literally today, I celebrate 2 years working with this amazing team at Adobe Live. I was actually doing the International Women's Stream with the lovely Ari and the amazing Paco in San Francisco 2 years ago. And I think that we met also that week. So that's also our anniversary, our second anniversary.
Super cool. Yeah, that's super cool. I think mine is December 2018. So about like 2 months ago, around Christmas time, I did my first stream. So yeah, super close. That's awesome.
That's amazing. So as I was saying, I'm Kladi is more the part where you're going to find courses. You can learn more about Illustrator. I have a Illustrator course with Adobe edX. So it's a boot camp that you can access, and more course in InDesign and Illustrator with LinkedIn. And of course, if you missed any or the other Adobe Live, you can find it here, and resources. There's so many free files that you can find. So this is more the instructional part of what I do. So if you want to learn how to use the amazing Creative Cloud apps, I Am Kladi is the place to go. If you want to hire me to design things for you, Printmysoul is the way to go. Once I hopefully made that a little bit more clear, I just gonna come back into the slides because I think otherwise it get confusing. So I Am Kladi is just me teaching and Printmysoul is me designing. And as you can see, my passion for keeping my hand colorful started when I was very young. So this is actually a picture that my mom has found. So that's how I spent my childhood, literally painted with my hand, and it looks like I was painting my face as well. So literally thinking out of the box from a very early age. And I just think that it's inspiring to share a little bit of a background before jumping into our work, because I think everybody comes from different places. I come from a very small village in the south of Italy. And that's where I grew up. The place is called Lecce. By the way, let me know if there is any Italian in the house. I would love to know. I would love to know if there is any Italian. I know that Steve, we speak in Italian. I don't know if you knew that, Julia, but usually when we learn Illustrator or all the other amazing apps, we always do a little bit of Italian classes.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, we have some people from India, from Bangladesh. Let's see what else we have. Yeah, people from all over the place. Super, super cool. Let us know in the chat where you all are tuning in from. It's it's awesome to know, where everybody's from and the different time zones. By the way, if it's late in your country, thanks so much for tuning in and hanging out with us.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go real quick here. So again, I'm from the south of Italy, and the reason why I wanted to share that is because I think that being from such a bright place, I always say I feel like I am made by the sun and the dirt of my hometown. As much as I travel the world, and that's I've been in Brazil, I lived in Spain, I lived in Copenhagen, I live now in UK, I lived in America, I lived in Australia, so many different countries and places throughout my life. And it's always me and my luggage, but I am also very, very connected to my hometown. And I think that's awesome. The bold graphics and the colors do come from there. And in fact, when I was young, and there's more picture of little Kladi, my hobbies were sports and graffiti. So that's where the rebel artistic side of me comes out. And I know that everyone is usually very curious about my paintings in the streets. So here they are. This is a popular photo. I started my career in PR. So again, I love to share this because I've not started by studying design. I was working, my first job was at the UN, and I was painting the streets. So as I always said, my opportunity was either to get fired or arrested, and neither of the two were looking appealing. And therefore, I decided to move to Australia and then pursue the colorful route. So more graffiti. And then I started to transform my passion. So we can see how I created a typeface in Illustrator starting from a sketch on the wall. And by all means, I'm not a graffiti artist. There are so, like, I will do, you know, there are so many talented real graffiti street artists out there that do mind-blowing pieces. I love to play on a big canvas, and I have enjoyed it, the walls in the street, to give me the freedom to do that. So it was more a way to explore colors and freedom. But your point that I'm trying to make here is the key part for my life is, you know, follow your passions, and they're going to take you somewhere for sure, because they're going to give you the strength to keep going throughout your journey. And that's one of the reasons why I've actually chose Frida Kahlo, and we're going to jump into her in just a second. I'm just going to finish to show you real quick. So for my graffiti, I created a typeface, which is, by the way, available. If you subscribe to my newsletter, you can actually use it. I transform it into, you can actually type with it, even if it's so bold. Of course, it's mainly for titles. And that's where I work. This is my desk. So all of that, all the traveling, all the graffiti, everything condensed into opening the studio. And I'm just going to go real quick here because I just, you know, you probably can see those pieces in my portfolio already. This is some of the graphics that I created at Printmysoul throughout this year. And of course, my book. And one last shout out. Can you believe that I've done that was my first cover book I've done when I was 6 years old. And when I talk with my mom, I'm like, how didn't you tell me that I was supposed to be a designer when I was doing book covers at the age of 6 for my school? And then I went on and, you know, doing marketing and other thing. Again, it was always there. You just need to follow your passion and follow what you love. And it takes you there, streaming with amazing ladies. And that's another shout out for this International Women's Day. Of course, Julia, we streamed before, and I'm super happy to be here. But also, I want to give you a shout out to Kathleen, Martin, and Christine Hart, and the amazing Jasmine and Ari, that are some of the amazing ladies that have hosted me here on Adobe Live. Right, so this is the book. This is the one that we're going to recreate today into a digital format. If you want to see more about the book, you can find that on Printmysoul. And we are ready to jump on today goals. So what we're going to be accomplishing today.
Quick question, Kladi. Yeah. Where can we subscribe to your newsletter? Maybe you can share where exactly that is.
Yeah, absolutely. All you have to do is to head on I Am Kladi. You think that I know? I don't have a straight answer. Let me go and check out. So all you have to do is to head on I Am Kladi for sure. And then I believe that maybe at the bottom. Yeah. So at the bottom of my landing page. So when you go on iamkladi.com, at the very bottom, you can put your email address and click on send me Kladi's resources. And as I say, Kladi doesn't spam because I don't send images very often. I don't send emails very often. So, you know, even if you subscribe, whenever I have the time to create some free elements, you can, you know, like the typefaces, you will receive all of those. But don't worry, you're not going to be bombarded by email because I actually struggle to keep that.
Because actually you don't have the time to write emails.
So don't worry, you're just going to have some free stuff coming through your mail here and there. So iamkladi.com, and then just scroll down the page. And I believe also if you go on your freebies, you have a lot of freebies there, and also the opportunity to sign up. Right. So I was actually going to jump into the schedule, but I had the schedule for today, for these 2 days plans, what a list I have in mind to do. But something else popped up, which you're going to talk about in a second. My 2 little cats, which, believe it or not, are called, Julia, I know you know it, Frida and Kahlo. So every time that I go to the vet, they're like, oh, okay. So yeah, so we have Frida over here, and then we got the little Kahlo, which was a new addition to the family. And if you think that that's how obsessed I am to Frida Kahlo, you cannot even imagine. My house is full of Frida Kahlo portraits. But let's see if I can put this into a full screen mode.
That's
Fantastic.
super cool. Seth is saying Kladi means mad global styles.
Hi, Seth. Nice to see you. By the way, go and check out Seth. He's an amazing Photoshop artist and instructor, also Max speaker, and he does so many amazing work with photo retouching, with specifically for sports brands. So go and check Seth's portfolio out. And thank you so much, my friend, for joining me here. Right.
That's
so
awesome.
This is the plan for these 2 days. Julie, sorry.
I was just saying that Afroja was saying, love your hairstyle, Kladi. And I think we all do. Yeah. I think it looks really lovely with the flowers in your hair. It's amazing.
Inspired by women. That's the theme. That's absolutely the theme of this International Women's Day, and of course, International Women's Month. I'm totally inspired by my favorite woman, and here is also brought one of my book here, which is my favorite Frida Kahlo book. Again, we're gonna dive in a little bit more about Frida in a second, because we're gonna take inspiration and we're gonna start our project from here. In fact, if you can see, day one, today we're gonna start by creating mood boards, and the mood boards are all about Frida. And then, as you can see, we're gonna discover time-saving techniques to create color palettes from our mood boards in Photoshop, InDesign and Illustrator. So I'm gonna actually show you techniques to do the same thing, but in different apps, so you can feel comfortable and use the one that you use the most. So there are different ways. The beauty of Adobe Live, I always watch it, no matter how much experience I can have. I always watch it because everyone has their own way of doing things, their own insight, their own experience, and that's why I think that Adobe Live is so much valuable, because you learn so many different ways and approaches and reasoning on using also different apps.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think just like working between different apps can really help you maximize the potential of your design, right? So in one app that is specified on specific things, but then you can go into the other one and you can even enrich the design and make it even better and more interesting. So if you haven't worked in, multiple apps at the same time yet, definitely recommend trying it out, experimenting.
Yes, absolutely. And again, hopefully everyone is, I don't want to read it. I create the slide, so it's out there. There is a lot to do. So let's get started. But definitely we're going to create a digital documents. So hopefully everyone had the time to look at the slide. And we're gonna start
and memorize everything.
And memorize everything. No, we're gonna work on it. We're gonna absolutely work on it. So I'm gonna start by opening InDesign, and this is the welcome page of InDesign, and I'm gonna start by create a new document. And let's see what happened. When we click on create new, here we go. We have the new document panel popping up. The first thing that I'm going to do here, because remember, it's very important to understand what is the final output of your the destination of your product. So what are you designing? This will be the first question. And actually, one of my first design experience was with a printer, and I was answering the call because we were printing flyers, and it was a lithographic printer. So sometimes we had customers that they were calling, and my first actually way of interacting with them was to understand the purpose, to make sure that the design was fit for purpose. So if you're creating something for print, you need to think with a frame mind that is directed to print. Today and tomorrow, we're going to be designing for interactivity. So it's going to be a digital zine, a digital booklet. So the first thing that we got to think is web, because it's going to be displayed on screens. And InDesign, like all the other amazing apps from the new document, allows you to set the intent, so the final purpose of your file, directly here from the new document panel. In fact, if you click on web, what you can see right away, all the details will be changed in just one click. In fact, the units will be changed into pixels, and the color mode will change into RGB, which is the standard color mode for a document that will be displayed on screen. Of course, red, green, and blue, which are the colors that make up the lights in the screen. And I'm sure that there is a better definition, but that's as deep as I want to go with RGB color theory. And another things that we can notice is that the raster effect, so the resolution is going to be standard 72 ppi, pixel per inch, and that's the dimension. You can of course change it to 150 to enhance the quality of your images, especially if you have a lot of images for all the tablet or mobile that are that have a retina display, in order to really give a better quality to your images. But in general,
I always love to do it in 150 dpi, so that I can make sure, you know, that every screen, whenever somebody opens and even zooms in a little bit, that is still not pixelated. So, but it's up to you. But when you're creating a file for print, you should set it up for 300. So that's the difference there.
Yeah, correct. So the print standard is 300 dpi. In that case, is dot
DPI.
per inch.
Mm-hmm.
And for screen.
And the color mode there will be CMYK instead of RGB, because CMYK are the colors that the printer produces, right?
Yeah, those are the cyan, yellow, magenta, and black. Although there are so many other options, and I should have brought my book, probably is behind me, but I'll bring it tomorrow. That's totally fine. In fact, especially with the new digital way of printing, in particular, I use a lot that Indigo machine. You can add extra colors, so fluorescence or special effect like gloss. You can actually right now print it on them, or white. In fact, on my book, let's see if I can show you real quick from my website. You can see that the pages are in blue, and the blue is actually a Fedrigoni cotton paper, recycled. And what I've done, even on the cover, you can see there is just white ink. So there are specialty ink that you can access as well with normal printing mode, both in lithographic or digital mode. But this is the book if you want to have a look. Those are some of the images that we're going to be using and recreating. And the whole idea is that how do we transform a print publication into an interactive digital one? So let's keep going with our file. I'm going to call it plant design. We're naming our file. And in terms of size, I usually select letter. The reason why I select letter is because I try to think as of a newsletter. The general rule for when creating newsletter is 600 pixel as width, because that's the general size for any server or email that opens on desktop, and that's also very good for tablets. So this is the general width that I will give to a document that is displayed and distributed digitally. For the height, completely up to you. I'm happy to stick with the preset here. Of course, if you click on view all preset, there is so much more to do. The high resolution is usually 1920 by 1080. If you want to do that, and that's usually when you're creating slides or something that will display on larger screens. But in this case, we're also going to create facing pages. So by ticking facing pages, we're going to be creating the effect that is a booklet. So we're going to have the first covers, and then the pages are going to be placed in a spread. So we're going to have two pages sit next to each other. And in order to see what I'm talking about, we can click on preview before accepting the changes. And we can also give it a number of pages. So for example, 5 pages. By the way, all the settings that I'm putting here, you can change once you create your file. So don't be afraid of making any mistakes. Everything is editable, even once you create the file. It's good, of course, if you can set it up already in order to get started on the right foot. But InDesign will give you the opportunity to change the setting afterwards as well. Fantastic. Another thing that I want to talk about is the bleed and slag. I do not do those for I don't use them for a digital production. Those are usually related to print production, and the bleed is that area that you will extend your page to in order to give the printer a little bit of a jiggle room when they cut your margin. So for example, let's say for this book, Frida pictured that this a beautiful maroon color. If they didn't have the bleed, what happened is that whenever the printer cut it, it would have had an edge to it, which is usually a white, not noticeable edge. But if you extend it with the bleed and the printer cuts it a little bit off, nobody will notice, because your background will be extended over the original size of the page.
Yeah.
Again, we're not printing. Yeah.
We have Emma here saying, hi, Kladi, Frida, and Julia. Hi, Emma.
Yes.
Hi, everybody who is joining, Afroja. And yeah, so many people in the chat. Anna's here, Annika is here. Super, super cool to have you all here. Thanks so much for joining.
Fantastic. So the first thing that I've done here was to create the magazine. Once we're done, let's not forget to save, because that's something that happens very often. So Command S if you're working on a Windows, and that's Control S if you're Control S if you're working on a Windows, Command S if you're working on a Mac. Currently transitioning to a Mac, to a Windows. There we go. So completely mixed up. Right now, I'm working from a MacBook Pro, but I usually work from a Windows machine. So you're gonna hear me saying both shortcuts and probably all the way around as well.
Yeah, let us know in the chat also what machine you are working on, and yeah, let us know what your favorite shortcuts are. That would be awesome to know. I'm working on a Mac, by the way. And also, if you have any questions in the process, feel free to shoot them in the chat as well, so that we can ask Kladi. I'll keep track of the questions here so that she can keep on working and concentrate on that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. So as you can see, I've created my file and I saved it. And even if I have multiple files, I can always go back and press Command N to open a new one. In this case, I'm just going to create a landscape. I'm not really bothered for this one because this is going to be our Frida mood board. So I'm just going to use it in order to place images inside. So I'm not too bothered because that's more for my own research purposes. And I'm going to click create. All I want here is to have a landscape orientation so I can place as many images as possible. And we're gonna have a look at some images that I've created, but before placing them, let's go ahead and use our rectangle frame tool. So the rectangle frame tool will allow you to create a placeholder, just like so, in which you can then place the image. But I'm going to delete this one because there is a smarter way to work when you have when you're creating a full page that has images. So what I'm going to do is to click from the very top origin of our page and then click and drag until I go to and I hit the very bottom right of the page. And if I just release the mouse, I'm still clicking, I still have the mouse holding, because if I release, I will create just a very gigantic placeholder. But if we do use the arrow keys on our keyboard, so in this case, I'm going to move right and I'm going to move top to the top. It will allow me to break the main frame into multiple frames, and you can do as many as you want.
That's so cool.
Another amazing. You didn't know about that?
No, I so honestly, I'm an Illustrator queen, so okay. I think you're super into InDesign, so you know all of these really cool tricks.
Yes, I work with I love to work cross apps. So today we're going to touch on Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop, because I basically jump literally from one to the other. All of them, they're all open on my desk. And lately I've started a little bit of After Effects and Premiere as well. So pretty fun. That's the beauty of Creative Cloud, of working with the apps together. But another cool trick here, still, look, I haven't released my click, so I can still mold my display here. What you can do, you can also change the gutter. And the gutter is the space in between images. So let's say that I want to create a little bit more of a dramatic effect and isolated the image, or vice versa, I maybe don't want any space in between the images. Well, all you have to do is to use the arrow keys, but in this case, you will use the arrow keys while you hold the command key. Of course, if you are on a Mac, that will be the control key if you're working on a Windows. So again, left bracket to make the gutter, which is the space in between either the column on the row. In this case, if you use the left and right, you're going to be creating the space in between the columns. And if you use the top or bottom arrow, you will be changing the space in between the rows, just like so. So let's settle on this. I'm not particularly, I just wanted to show this amazing tool. And once you release, you create this grid of image. And as you can imagine, if you're creating a picture book and perhaps you just have to create a sections, this will be super useful, because right now I have created it just for one page. But if you had if you're actually working for a different book and you just need it for just a section, you can still do that. And just create placeholder real quick. And the most beautiful thing is that they're all the same size, so you also keep the consistency there, and
it saves so much time. You don't have to like take each one and then place them underneath each other, match them so they fill the page and so on. So yeah, that's super awesome.
Totally. And what I've done is, of course, press Command S, that's Control S on Windows to save your file. Don't not forget to do that, because you can create a file, you can name it, but let's make sure that you save it. So also you will help all the amazing apps to keep your files and to save it in the background. So if your computer crashes or something happen, you know, your power goes off, you're still going to be able to recover your file. So that's super important. First step to do when you create your file, perhaps even before showing off the the little frame tool. Fantastic. So now we're gonna use the shortcut. Oops, we're gonna use the shortcut. That's the shortcut in Illustrator. See, I'm getting a little confused with the apps. Let's see if we can do it here. I'm gonna go to Edit and place the images. So that's what I wanted to do here. I usually use the shortcut. I don't know if you remember, Julia. I'm currently just remembering the shortcut. Oh, it's D. Is the letter P
to place.
If you're working on Illustrator? Yes, to place. Well, in
yeah,
InDesign,
Command and D.
Command D. Exactly.
Yeah.
So
cool.
If you select your frames first, and then select Command D, which is the shortcut to place, the dialog box or the place window will pop up. So all you have to do here is to make sure that you know where your files are. And let's see, here we go. We go to our Frida's folder. And all you got to do, you can select them all by holding the Shift key and then selecting or holding the Control key. It looks like I have many images here, perhaps too many for our frames. And as you can see, they're loaded. So here they are. If I zoom in, you can see that in parentheses, it tells me, hey, you have pictures and you have 16 pictures loaded. So they're already loaded in InDesign. And all I have to do is to click inside the frames in order to distribute the photos inside our grid that we have created, just like so. And otherwise, you can just place them just like inside the document, but look what happens here. If you don't have a grid, a sustainable grid for your images, they are going to be all different size, and it's going to be quite messy. So I'm going to press Command Z a couple times, and before importing them, I'm actually going to duplicate this grid. So let's simply press Escape and click on the grid, Command C to copy, go on your second page, and Shift Option Command V to paste in place. Now I can go back to pressing Command D to access all my photo, and I know that for sure I will have enough frames to place my images. And all I have to do again is to click on them.
And we have so many people who were telling us that they're using either Macs or PCs. It seems pretty balanced, I have to say. We have a bunch of people who are using Mac as well. Cool.
Fantastic. What about you? You are just on Mac, are you?
Oh yeah, I'm an Apple. Although I'm always super annoyed about the charging of the mouse. I always complain. I always
I am cable. I'm on a Mac, but I kind of gave up and I go cable.
Yeah.
I completely
I like
understand.
this mouse. I don't like cables. I'm a big fan of, just not having anything on the table except for the things that you need. But the charging, I mean, I have to give up designing to be able to charge this mouse. I mean, Steve Jobs will go crazy about this if he knew.
Product dysfunctionality. Here we go. Yeah. So as you can see here, I have a mix of photo, and look what happens. Something that I wanted to show you is that if you click on the frame and you enlarge the frame, you will not change the size of the image. If you want to change the size of the image and the frame, you want to hold the, what's going on?
It's so funny. Woodwell is saying, I'm an Apple, Julia 2021. Yeah, I'm definitely an Apple. That's for sure. That's a good one.
That's super funny.
Yeah.
Again, what I was doing here is to click on the image and then resize it. So as you can see, it has a different color bounding box. The bounding box of the frame is the blue bounding box, while if you're working with the image, you will see this maroon bounding box. Also, there is the little eye toggle that will allow you to move the image inside the frame. And you can also use your trackpad if you have, in order to pinch. It's almost as if you're zooming in with the phone to make it smaller or bigger, right? The reason why we're creating this mood board is to, first of all, appreciate the love for the amazing Frida Kahlo, but also because we want to really look at the colors in our life, because we are taking inspiration from our life. Now, I promised that I was going to show you different ways of picking up a color palette. First thing that I'm going to do is to head to my CC library, and from here I'm going to create a new library. All you have to do is to click on the plus icon in order to create a new library. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I can store multiple color palettes, and then because of the amazing power of the Creative Cloud library, they will be made available throughout my Creative Cloud apps. So I will be able to use them in Illustrator, InDesign, and Photoshop. So I'm going to name this one, I think, Plant Zine. I like to keep the name of the file that I'm working on and the name of the library the same. As you can see, I have a ton of libraries. I work with many, many libraries, and I absolutely love them. So Plant Zine is the new library here. And what I'm going to do is to, first of all, click on the file menu in order to save our image. And actually, let's export it. Because we already talked about saving. So
There's
how do we
export?
Question.
Sure. Kladi, quick, before we export, Nava is asking, what about the fit to frame buttons or shortcuts?
Yes, fit to frame. So for example, let's have a look at this image here that is clearly cut out. The shortcut to fit to frames is Shift Option Command E. And as you can see, the image will be fit into the frame. So Shift Option Command E. And look, there are different ways of doing it. So if we actually use only Option Command E, the image will be stretched. So you're gonna actually force the image to fit into the frame.
Don't do it.
No, I mean, unless that's what you're looking for, but you're going to lose the proportion. Usually shift always in, even when you draw a circle in Illustrator, shift is the key to keep proportion consistent. So even in this case, when we're fitting to frame, holding the shift key while you hold Option Command, and of course, if you're on a Windows, this is going to be Control Alt Shift and the letter E on your keyboard will fit it into frame. Okay, so this is the main difference when you are fitting an image. And I hope that satisfied the questions. Otherwise, there is another way in which you can fit an image. So in this case, it will be the way around, fitting the frame to the image. So let's say that we want to use, and I'm going to move it away because it's quite a big image. Let's say that we want to fit, and this is going to work in InDesign. We're going to see it with the text as well. We want to fit the frame, either if it's a text frame or an image frame, to the actual content. The shortcut in that case is Option Command C. So Alt Control C. And as you can see, in this case, is going to be the frame that is going to enlarge and fit to the actual size of the real content. While if we use what we said before, Shift Option Command E, is going to be the image to shrink and fit proportionally inside the frame. So I hope that helped with the question.
And Nava is also saying there is a fill proportionally option, which Kladi just showed. So yes, absolutely. And Emma is asking, how many apples do you eat a day? I have a lot of apples around me, definitely.
That's super funny. So what I've done here in order to export the file is use a shortcut Command E. That's super fast, even if you want to export for print, but in many other different formats as well. All you have to do is to head to the format drop-down menu and select, in this case, JPEG. I just want to use this as an image. I'm going to head to my desktop. Ideally, I can create a folder and call it Plant Zine, so we can actually, oops. I haven't renamed it, but we can rename it later. That's the beauty of the Windows. When you're on a Windows, Julie, you can rename your folders even when you are saving files. And for someone like me that creates these untitled 8, 10, 15, that's super useful.
I always create a new folder for some reason. Like I rarely rename folders for some reason. Maybe because I can't rename them, I just create a new one.
So once you create a folder and hopefully you manage to name it, unlike me, you'll be able to select the pages that you want to export. In this case, it can be just page number 1 or all of them. And again, depending on the output. So in this case, I'm going to be working for screen. So I'm going to use these images to leverage colors. And therefore, I'm going to keep the color space in RGB, resolution 250 ppi, as we explained before, because we're going to be using the image for screen. So simply click on export. And once you do so, the image is going to be right away in your untitled folder. So let's go ahead and search for my untitled folder in my desktop and hopefully rename it so we can make sure that we use it here. Here it is. So I'm going to rename it real quick, Plant Design.
Hi, Octavio. Nice to see you here. Two giants in this session, Kladi and Julia.
You're tiny.
Yeah. Did you know that Kladi and Julia are actually the size of a building? We're just like giants walking around the town like.
And we do make the sound effect as well.
Right. Annika is saying coffee is life. And while you say it, I want to take a sip of my coffee.
Right. While you do that, I'm going to just grab the images that we just exported. And in order to add any image or any asset inside your creative library, all you have to do is to find it inside your machine in your folder, and then click and drag inside the CC libraries in order to add them. So as you can see, we have already created the mood board. And now look what happened. If I jump into Photoshop and I just open a new file, and again, I'm just going to go ahead and create a random file here. I'm here just to show you we're already at the second point. So we created our mood board, and now I'm here to show you how to leverage colors. So all I want to do is to head back to my libraries panel, and here they are. If you do not find your libraries panel, by the way, any panel that I'm going to mention in any app, either if I'm working on Photoshop, InDesign or Illustrator, lives under the window menu. So make sure to choose window and then select any panel that you hear me nominating if you don't see it into your workspace. Fantastic. Then from here, let's select the Plant Design, and you will be able to find the images that we just created. So the mood board. So if I select it and drag it inside the document, just like so, Photoshop is going to place it in the document. And what it does, it automatically creates a layer. Here it is. So if we see our layers panel over here, we see that we have our image selected. Now, why are we doing all of this? This is a fantastic way to lift color palettes, especially if you're working with a brand, or if you're working with a, if you're creating a new logo and you have an inspiration mood boards and you really want to use that color palette, that colors, you will have to go and, what would you do in the past, Julie? Like create swatches, use the color picker, and then from the color picker, double click on it. And, it just takes a long time to, let's show it. So in the past, I would have probably use the rectangle tool, create a rectangle, then use the color picker, and then pick the color and then apply it. And then from here, you can double click and select all the values, and you got to write it down on a piece of paper, and the day is gone and nobody's paying me to waste my time. So that wasn't definitely a very effective way of working. And thankfully, I think about last year at Adobe Max 2020, the wonderful creative, or just before Adobe Max 2020, the wonderful capture service was added to Photoshop. And I really hope that it's going to be added as well to Illustrator and InDesign, although we're going to see different ways to pick up colors, because we can do that also in the other applications. So making sure that you have your image selected, head to your libraries panel, and let's learn how to leverage the color palette real fast from our image. Click on the plus icon, and it looks like we have our image selected.
So cool. We have some really nice message from Octavio here in the chat. Love your sessions. I've learned so much with your sessions that now I have my own clients and I'm doing good as a freelancer. Currently, I'm collaborating with 3 companies. Congrats. That sounds so good.
That's so amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. I love when everybody proceeds further in their career. That's like the best.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I totally agree.
I'm actually looking, probably I would love to rasterize the file. Yes. So I was struggling for a second because, again, what I'm looking for and what I mentioned is the the capture service, it wasn't popping up, is because you need to have a rasterized image. So I'm just gonna undo so you see what the problem was, because that's the beauty of the live. Problems happen in real life, in real workflow, and we're here together to find solutions. So I had a little cloud on the layers. That means that my file, so the actual mood board, is linked to my creative library. So at the moment, Photoshop is reading the file as a link, as a linked asset that is linked to the cloud. Not a problem. All you have to do is to right click on it and then make sure that you rasterize your layer. And right now it's just a flat image. So it's just pure pixels. And this will allow us to, sorry?
It's just pixels now. It's all
pixels.
Like all flat.
Yes,
Yay.
it's a flat image. So with our layer selected, which is now an image, we can head to our libraries and click on this little plus icon to add elements. And from here, create from image. So we're going to access the wonderful capture service. And as you can see, not only you can create patterns, you can create gradients using colors, but most importantly, that's what we're looking for. You can create color themes. So here I have pretty much a summary, a little summary of Frida's portraits. I have a little bit of her house, a little bit of her paintings, a very famous shot for Vogue, which is this one below, and the cover of the book, and that's actually her painting. So like I could actually go and select, I don't know if you can appreciate that, but that's the color, the Frida Kahlo painting color. So I can literally go ahead and select the color that she used for printed, this amarillo, this
yellow.
Yellow, yes.
Like
Let's
a mustard yellow.
Yeah.
It's an awesome color.
And that's
super cool. Everybody in the chat is saying, thank you so much for all the tips. And there's so much good feedback. So
I'm so happy that those are helpful. Usually, I'm super, that really makes me happy in order like to share more, to know that people find it useful. Something that I noticed also in my research, and by the way, this is a photo of when Frida got married with the love of her life, which was Diego Rivera, another painter. There is a lot of green, a lot of red, and a lot of blue. So those are definitely some of the colors, and pink as well. So those are the colors that I'm gonna select. I'm gonna have a yellow is there also in our house, but I think that the majority is more green, blues, and red. So those are the colors that I'm gonna focus on. And again, once you select your color palette, here, all you have to do is click on Save to CC Library to save the color palette. And as you can see, it will be added to your library in just a second. Here it is. And by the way, if you perhaps aren't sure, maybe you really like the yellow, don't worry. You can go back and add as many different palettes as you want. So we can perhaps choose also a different color green, and instead of the pink, we can just focus on the red. So by doing so, you can click on Save to CC Libraries, and here we go. You have plenty of choices, so you don't have to restrict yourself to one library. Also, this amazing service will allow you to create a selection. So it will go ahead and look at which are the brightest pixels. And, in this case, we are creating a self-initiated project, so we don't have particular restrictions, but you might have those limitations directed from your brief. And therefore, that will be super useful because in just a click, you can see that Photoshop just chooses that capture inside Photoshop uses all the different dark mode, or in this case those are the darkest colors. So super automated. I believe that Adobe Sensei, which is Adobe Artificial Intelligence, is behind these amazing features as well. But here we go. I think that I'm going to stick to colorful, and let's see. I kind of love the bright one as well. I'm going to click to Save to CC Libraries, and I could do that all day, as you can see. So I'm just going to close it. And that was one method to add colors. And look what happens when I jump back into my InDesign files and perhaps into my magazine files. The colors are there. So whenever I'm going to create any type or any sort of, we're going to talk about buttons. So maybe status over when we click on them, or background, we already have Frida Kahlo palette there, which I think awesome. Is super.
And Annika is asking, are there global colors in InDesign too?
Yes. So the color modes in InDesign, of course, you can see them once you open the swatches panel. So again, like every other panel, you want to head under Windows and color, and then swatches. you're going to be able to see the color mode right away here. Usually in Illustrator, you can see that at the beginning, or in Photoshop right away from the new document panel. In InDesign, the best way to check the color in which you're working on is to open the swatches panel, and this is the little icon which shows you the RGB mode. But if you intend to work into different color modes, you can double click on the color. And then from here, you can choose what sort of color mode you want to change to. So again, from here, you can find all the other different color mode, and you can also access spot colors. But we want to stick to RGB because we are producing a zine, a magazine for, do you say zine or do you say zine? I don't even know.
I don't know. I feel like if you say magazine and then you say zine, I guess zine, or I also sometimes say zine, so I'm not really sure. Let us know in the chat how you guys say it.
Yeah, put the accent where it should be, because I don't do that. But yeah, that's the main point, is that it's going to be digital. So that's regarding the colors. But since we're talking about panels, we're going to see how to leverage the colors real quick also into from InDesign. So I'm going to bring in the image just like I did before. So in that case, we are in InDesign, and all you have to do is to click on the little eyedropper icon, and the first one will be the color theme tool. So it looks like an eyedropper, but it has some little squares. And look what happened when I click onto it, and then I click on an image, it picks up the color that have a higher distribution, and then it allows you to add them to your swatches panel or to your library. Although for this kind of way of leveraging color from images, I usually work with one image at a time. So I'm not going to accept and I'm not going to add them right now because I would probably rather just work with one single image. That's why there is a reason why it's nice to use that in Photoshop. You can have a better management of the color that you pick, while in InDesign, I believe, and again, that's completely up to you, and that's my method of working, I would just use one single photo, but we're going to do that in a second. Before we move forward in our production, so we have our file set up, we want to really concentrate on the workspace. This is paramount if you're going to start to create, especially right now where everything is online, if you're going to start creating any publication, invitation, anything that is for print, sorry, for digital, for screen. And we're also, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it today. I hope so. Otherwise, luckily we have tomorrow. We're going to create buttons. So we're going to create a publication that is digital, and we're also going to share it online, and we're going to literally make it work almost like a website. So we're going to be able to switch through paragraph and images by clicking on text. But how do you do that? Where are all these amazing tools hidden in Illustrator? Well, the fastest way to accelerate your workflow is to use the preset workspaces that are nested until our little essential here. Essential is the default workspace that opens up when you open InDesign. Click on the down pointing arrow and then select interactive for PDF or digital publishing. I usually select the interactive for PDF just because I want that interactivity assets in there as well. And then to make sure that you can
set links and so on, right?
Yes, that's what we're going to do. We're going to create links. We're going to place a video, and we're going to create buttons. So I'm going to show you how to create buttons inside InDesign.
Super
maybe
cool.
Today, maybe tomorrow. Again, once you select your workspace, make sure always to reset it so you can have like a full look at what the general workspace looks like, just to make sure that you don't miss anything. And something that I want to point it out, when you work with the main preset workspace, they're already divided into some sort of like structure. So we have page and page transition, links and layers. So we can already sort of have an understanding that here we have anything that's got to do with the structure of the document, then with the assets, then stylings, we have color, stroke, gradient, and then the interactive parts. We have hyperlink and bookmarks. But what I will advise you to do is to personalize that. And I'm going to show you the way that I personalize it, because you can also save it. And that will allow you to go back and open your document. And every time that you're working for a digital magazine, you have your preset ready to go. So you can select your workspace. You don't have to worry about anything. Everything that you need
and save you
there.
So much time.
Yeah. So for example, here is missing the paragraph styles, which for me are important because I'm going to be using a lot of text. I don't know if there is any question. I can see that Seth is giving a lot of insight about color mode. But that's
we're talking about CMYK and RGB. That CMYK is being used for printing. And Seth is saying, when designing for print, don't feel that you must work in CMYK. If it's not comfortable for you, your file can be converted to CMYK by the print vendor.
Yes,
that's a really great tip.
Although I will be safe on that, because clients usually see things on a screen on a certain color, and then when they see a print that is a different color, usually that's when the trouble starts to happen. So absolutely, you can do that, but I will be mindful to make sure that you have a proof before you spend some of your clients' money to print colors that are not what they're expecting. So always make sure to proof anything that you print. Right. So for my specific way of working, I don't need the simple buttons. I'm going to use the text for the buttons. So the best way to close a panel is either to click on the little X, or you can right click on it and then click close. I don't need the page transition. I'm not going to use any gradient, and I'm not going to use any bookmark, just like so. And I can also start to consolidate our tab. So hyperlinks, buttons, and media can go under the same sort of like group. So here again, I have structure in and probably layers. I'm going to put it under pages, here assets. So CC libraries go under links, and that just helps you to work in a little bit more organized ways. Then I'm going to go ahead under the window menu where I say that all the panels leave, and I'm going under styles and choose paragraph styles in order to bring up the paragraph and character styles, and I'm going to bring them under the styling group. So here we go, just like so. And something else that we want to add is also the EPUB preview. That will allow you to preview your file before you ship it online, so you make sure that everything is working correctly. So choose the window menu, and then under interactive, you will find EPUB interactivity preview. I usually make this window quite large, so we will be able to preview our interaction nice and easily. And I'll just put that just here at the bottom. And again, look what happens here with the panels. You can drag them anywhere you want, and then simply you can click and drop them in order to collapse them inside the panel here, inside the bar. Then once you have finalized the way that you want to work, and you can add as many as you want. By the way, this is just my general preferences. I probably even forgot some of them, but those are at least the basics that we're going to be using today. All you have to do is to click on the down pointing arrow, and then please select new workspace. I'm going to call this one plant design, so I don't get confused with my previous one. And again, you can capture the menu customization. So which sort of panels do you have? And that, by the way, works also for the toolbar. So you will be able to modify the toolbar just like I did for the other panels, but also the location. So let's see what that means. If I click on OK, and now we create this plant design little preview or zine preview, workspace preset. If I start to which it happens when you work, to drag out and create a little bit of a mess, and then I'm also looking at the EPUB, and now my workspace is a mess and I don't know where to go from here. Well, don't worry, because you have saved it. All you have to do is to click on a down pointing arrow and click on reset. Boom, and everything goes back to place, because we also have captured the position of the panel. So this is your art director, your clients come in, your workspace looks like a mess. There we go. In just a second, you are able to make everything looks nice and neat, nice and clean. And
I wish that I worked for my actual apartment.
Sorry?
I wish
the work for your room.
Yeah,
for the room.
Let's say you click a button and then everything goes back where it belongs to. That would be awesome.
Inside the drawers, that would be nice. There are so many applications starting just from the Command Z just to undo. I will be happy just by having a real undo. So many times I do things I don't want to do. I would just wish that I could undo them in order to go
Command
back
and Z, same here. Yeah. And Caroline is saying this is almost the same workspace as mine in InDesign Kladi.
Oh, fantastic.
Cool.
I'm so happy. Right. So I don't know if there's a question from Geotermia or no.
I currently need to get some of my artworks printed for an art show, and I'm struggling to find out how to get it done exactly.
That's a very broad question, Geotermia. You can always ping me on iandkladi.com. That's my Instagram. I know that we talked before. on Instagram. So if you have, unless, I mean, you're free to, to give us more insight here. What are you struggling with? Because that's a very broad question, I think.
Yeah. It's always good to kind of have a very specific question. Sometimes people come to me and be like, hey, how do I start freelancing? And I'm like, okay, what exactly
There's
do
a
you want
lot
to
of
know?
work to do, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So let's start to create our grids. So now we have our workspace. We're ready to crack on and start our work. And I usually create the grids by using the master pages. So you will find the master pages nested under the pages panel. So click on pages, and then you will see the A master over here. And you can double click on the page master in order to open it up. Whatever you placed on a master, it almost works like a background that is going to be located under or above your design. And I say under and above because the layers panel will determine that. So in fact, if we head to the layers panel and we click on the plus icon, I'm going to use the first layer, and I'm going to call it pages, and click on OK. And I usually do that when I produce some presentations for my for my business as well, maybe a portfolio. I want to make sure that my logo is always in the same place, almost like a background, and therefore I place it into the master. But if I place an image or something on top of it, I don't want that to be hidden. So the trick of doing that is to place it into a layer which is above the content. So whatever you're going to place inside your document afterwards, as long as it's in a layer that is below, it will be displayed underneath. Because as in every app, InDesign, Illustrator, Photoshop, the order of the layer stack matters. Any layer that is displayed on top will have content that displays above, and the layers are pretty much like a group of content where you can place all your text and graphics and images, and you can rename them. And so this is going to be our content.
The same thing I was just doing recently for a packaging project where you're putting the die line and the cutting marks and everything on one layer, and then you put the artwork on a separate layer. So you can always turn off the bleeds and marks and so on, and all the whole like outline of the object, basically technical instructions for the printer. You can turn them off. You can just remove the whole layer so that the printer can then just show the actual artwork, the actual print, right?
Yes, absolutely. And it's very good when you're creating special finishing. So if you want gloss or if you want emboss, you always place it on a separate layer and then you can export it. So that's the beauty of it. When you have elements sitting on a different layer, you can actually take the layer off with a little eye that toggles the visibility, and then you can just export the layer that is visible. So that's super, super useful when you want to align something and then just send it like different PDFs. But let's keep going here. So I wanted to add the page number. So what I did was make sure that I go on the pages layer that sits above everything, and then click on the type tool, then click and drag to create a type area. And then from here, I'm going to go under type and insert special character. And from markers, I want the current page number to sit here. And also because it's sitting in this case to the right page of the spread, I can head to my properties panel, which is a panel that I definitely forgot to add, but let me do that. I can actually recover my original. I should have a Kladi. Digital Kladi. Here it is.
Mervy's saying InDesign is a great program for creating portfolios. Yeah, I have actually created so many portfolios in InDesign. These days I'm working more online. So whenever I create portfolio pieces, I put them out online. Usually I use Behance for that. And I found that really useful because you can easily just add to to the work. But if you're, let's sending work that you don't want to show online, you only want to show to a specific customer, then definitely InDesign is a really great way.
Hey, but let's not forget what we're doing here. We're creating a digital document. So this can be a fantastic way to create a digital portfolio. So you're actually going to create a link with your portfolio. So now I'm going to be using it for my plans, but you can totally use it for your portfolio.
Yeah. And
then
now
share it.
if we have an interactive PDF, we can, you know, access all those links as well. So it's
Yeah.
possible. It's possible. And you can, in the same way, you can also design a resume so that, let's say, it links to your online portfolio. That's also possible.
So look what happened here. I placed the page, the current page number, and now on page 3, we have number 3 and page 2 and so on. But what happened if on the cover, I don't want any page number, like is there, but I don't really want it. So all you have to do is simply to grab one of the other master, in this case, where the one where none is applied, and click and drag it inside our page. So the little A that previews which master is applied is going to go away. As you can see, a master is applied on those. And if we go back to our cover, the number 1 is not displayed. But we still have an issue that this should be page number 1, is still page number 3. So I don't want that to be, you know, even if we're hiding the number 1, the one is, you know, number 3 is still not displayed the correct number that I want. But that's super easy to fix. All you got to do is to right click and then right click on your page, or click on the little burger menu on the top right of the pages panel and select numbering and section options. You can set the start page number at whatever you want. In this case, I'm going to start at page number 1. Make sure that you have your page number 3 selected. And as you can see, we can have a look from the display. The numbering will go 1, 2, and then 1 again. So from this number, which before was number 3, that's where our numbering will start. And in this case, we're going to place an image there. So we do not want any number for the second page. So we're going to have a blank page with no number, same here for the second one. And then the numbering is going to start from what it was, page number 3. And you can do that at any point. So let's say that you're writing a book which has got chapters, and you can start a new chapter. You can start a new page number if you wish to do that as well. Right, another thing that I like to do inside my masters is to set the grid. And today we're also going to talk a little bit about how to think about the layout before actually putting into place. So what I'm going to do here is double click on the A master to access our masters. And then from layout, we're going to create guides. The guides allow you to set a number of row and columns. And Julia, I was watching a stream a while ago. I think it was Paul with the amazing Shanti Sparrow from, which, by the way, congratulations, Shanti. I think she had a wonderful advancement in her career. She's an amazing award-winning designer. I think now she's a global head of education at Shillington College. I studied at Shillington myself, so big props to Shillingtons and to Shanti, which was here a guest. And she was talking about the number of columns. Do you use odds number or not? Do you have a preference for the numbers of rows and columns that you use in your grids?
I don't really know. Like, it always depends. Like, I don't know. I think 12 is a very usual one for creating digital assets.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't usually use columns as much. I use more rulers when I design layouts like this one. So it's all pretty custom. What about you?
I usually go for an odd number just to have a little bit of more flexibility, but I think that it really depends of the amount of content that I have. That will definitely, you know, if I just have pure text and image, I will perhaps just use maybe just 3 columns and just split the page in half, or like 3 by 3 grid. It's something that I go often to, or 5 and 7s are a number that I like. But for this particular document, we're going to have a digital. Anytime that is digital, I tend to try to be a little bit more mindful of the layout and the space, because we're going to have different elements like buttons and then things that appear and disappear. So I try to give myself a little bit more flexibility and control by adding more rows. In this case, I'm going to go for 12 rows and 5 columns and a gutter of 15. Let's see if maybe, and again, the gutter is the space in between the columns and the row, exactly like we were doing before. Yeah, maybe 15 looks nice. And I'm going to click on OK. And by the way, you can go back and change that at any point. And if we now go and select our little master, you can see that whenever we're going to start to place our content, the grid is available for us to use. And if we head back into our layers, what I want to do now is to start to think about the content and how to place it. So the first page is going to be for my introduction, and then we're going to start to talk about our lovely plants. So the first thing that I should do is to head over to my folder with the content and open the text. So we have our little introduction text, and then let's start with one plant over here. So hopefully my
Yes, I was asking, are you still working in the master page?
No, I am not, because in this case it will vary. So you can always create different master pages, although I want to focus on the plan. So I'm going to leave the introduction. I usually work on reverse. I do the cover at the very last, and I do the introduction probably just before the cover. I'm looking at the just at the pagination of the plant. And that's why I thought that it was very important to start to jump into the content so we can see the amount of information that we have, because that's going to help us to understand how many sort of content block we have to display. And the reason why I'm not working into a master is because this is going to be specific for a section. Again, I could create a new master, but in this case, again, I don't feel that there is the need to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and select the text just for one plant, and press on Command C, and then head back and click on the type tool and open the little text. And by the way, what I've done, I placed that inside the layout. I don't want to do that. Not a problem. All you have to do is to click on the down pointing arrow and simply click on the content and drop them inside the other layer. So as you can see, we already moved before it had a green outline that told us that it was inside the layout content. Going to press Command Z to undo so you can see, and that's a very, very useful things that they do, that happens in every app. You can see in which layer the content is located just by simply looking at the color of the bounding box. So in this case, the green bounding box told me right away, hey, you're in the wrong layer. We need to go from layout to content. So simply click on the content and drag it inside the right layer. And as you can see, the color of the bounding box has changed as well.
Mm-hmm. And Anna has a quick question. The columns and rulers, are they in the master?
Yes, they are in the master. So again, you don't have to do it to them. You don't have to apply it to the master, but if you do apply it to the master, that will allow you to distribute them right away. So now if I go and create more pages here, they will all have the masters. They will still have the same grid. So I don't have to go ahead and apply it over and over again. That's the beauty of having a master page, and same for the little page number. And by the way, if you do want to change grid, which it may happen, all you got to do is to right click and then click on create new master. You can call it B, you can call it, whatever you want. So for example, for the intro, we can create a new one, and then we can click on OK. And as you can see, we have a new master here, which is clean, doesn't have any sort of grid. And while I'm in the master, and as you can see, the master is selected, I can real quick go back to create some guides, and I'm just gonna create something super fast.
Hi, Malini. Malini's here with us.
Hi, Malini.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you so much.
Staying late to the party, but so glad I could make it.
And by the way, something that I didn't mention before, make sure to always feed the guides to margins. So you make sure that you respect the margin of the page. And as you can see, I'm going to click on OK. And there we go. And then I'm going to drag this new master inside our introduction page, just like so. And when I go and click on it, you'll see that this page will have a different grid. So that's the beauty of using the master pages. And if I do want, for example, access or create a new page, let's say even one of the ones that we created before, and maybe it's a new introduction of a new chapter, I can just simply click and drag in order to apply the new grid. So even if you have a spread, you can have the two masters. So in this case, on the left side of the spread, I have the general master that I have for the plant content, and then the intro is sitting on the other page. So that's super useful, allows you a lot of control and a lot of flexibility.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna
Merve is asking, Mervi is asking, I need to prepare a poster with 48 by 68 centimeters net printing area for a 50 by 70 centimeter banner. Do you have any suggestions? Which program should I use?
InDesign, of course, poster InDesign, although Illustrator has a wonderful capabilities also for print. But usually posters are great for InDesign. Again, depends what you're working on. Let me show you real quick. If it's a heavily illustrated poster, I will perhaps just, suggest you to do everything in Illustrator just so you can keep focus on creating. But if you want to add some bleed, and you can add bleed in Illustrator as well. If you want to have more flexibility to add text, if it's more a text heavy, maybe you have to create different columns. That will help you to choose which application to choose. If you have to do a compositing and maybe you have to create a very intricate image, then I would say just work in Photoshop. Again, always think about the end final product. You can use all the three amazing apps depending on the work that you got to do. Text heavy, I will definitely say Illustrator. InDesign. Illustration heavy, use Illustrator. Photo and photo editing heavy, use Photoshop. But the general rule for print, document, and the standard application is InDesign. Fantastic. So let's go back and let me see where I did I'm a little bit lost with my pages here because I'm
Malini is saying, I love InDesign. It's such an underrated app. Yeah, yes. I agree. It's Absolutely. InDesign. I started actually learning graphic design with InDesign. And I think it's such an easy app to learn. It's super intuitive and gives you a lot of, capabilities. So I think it's awesome.
Totally agree. Sorry, I was taking a little water break because I talk too much.
No, you don't. I think you talk just enough.
Fantastic.
Every time I want to say something, you already say it. So I'm like, okay, next time.
Well, feel free to interrupt me at any time.
No, it's awesome. I mean, I'm just here sitting and learning too.
Something that I wanted to show as well to reply to the question, if you do have illustrations, but you're not working heavily in illustration, you can always leverage the power of the Creative Cloud library. So I'm going to go ahead and this is the creative challenge that we just finished, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and try to find
working
the
with charts.
Yes, wow. We were creating some very colorful charts. So those are some of the illustrations from my book that we're going to be working on. And Cheryl Page of Woody is commonly called a string of heart. This is the lovely plant. So it has all these beautiful little leaves that looks like a heart, or is I believe it's called also a Chinese lantern plant. But if you head to your libraries panel, making sure that you select the correct library that we were working from, so it was called PlantZine. All you have to do is to select your image and then drag it inside your library. So, and that was to respond also to the poster questions. So for example, if that's the image that you're working with and you have an illustration that you created in Illustrator, you can still create your file in InDesign, and then simply, as you can see, once you create your image, it will be automatically updated to your Creative Cloud folders, so you can drag it and you can use it right away here inside InDesign. So let's assume that was a poster. This is exactly what we're going to do for our design. By the way, we're just going to place the image on the side, as we're not going to use it right away. Actually, I'm gonna delete it and jump into it. That was just an example to say that even if you do have illustrations, you can create your posters in InDesign. But let's move forward and let's focus on paragraph styles, which are
I've even seen people design logos in InDesign. So okay. Everything's possible.
I don't know about that. I'm not gonna comment further on that. But before moving forward, something that I wanted to do was to focus on the layout, and that's the reason why I did create that green layer. I'm gonna lock and toggle the layer lock here by simply clicking on the little lock to so we don't mess around the text. And I'm going to select the layout and just simply click on the rectangle tool. And this is just an idea of how we distribute the text. So we know that we have a title, so the name of the plant, in this case, Cheryl Page of Woody, their comments name. Then we have an area of temperature and Lumex, which is the amount of light that the plants wants, then the descriptions. And then we have those which are going to be our buttons, so light, food, and water, and then the tips. So I'm going to start to think on how to distribute the image. And I usually use these lovely rectangles. Again, just simply click on the rectangle tool on a separate layer, so you'll be able to hide it. And then I can start just to design where I think that the content is going to go. So, you know, that's a great way also when you're working on a team to discuss content. So instead of start to, you know, feed the images and start to design your full zine or zine or whatever you want to call it, or your book or whatever you're designing, playing with these little boxes, if you are working for your client, for your director, will give an idea of where you're going to be placing the informations, and also will give you an idea if to see if the grid works for you, or maybe you have to change it. So at the moment I'm envisioning here the title, and then maybe on the second part of here I can have you know, the name, so those top information can go at the top here, and then I can split this temperature and lumens just maybe on this area, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so we can see where we are applying. So we're already pretty much distributed up to here, you know, so that description. And what you can do is you can also change the color of the rectangle, so you know, that will be a little bit more efficient. So you will say the darker blue is where the content goes, and the green is where we're going to put the lumens details. And make sure not to place it on the stroke, because otherwise that's not going to be very useful. We can
There's
keep
a
it in
question
black.
by Seth. How do we get a copy of Plant Therapy? And I believe it's not currently available, is it?
No, it's sold out, and I'm so bad. I have so many people that want to buy my book.
We need more. We need more,
I'm the
Kladi.
worst person ever. I literally don't sell my own things, which is so bad. I'm very good at doing it for other people, but yeah, the whole idea is that I was focusing on creating a new book, and then the pandemic hit and life changed, so I should really reprint it. Actually, let me know in the chat if you will be interested to buy it, because maybe that will make me move a little bit faster and see if I can should I just order a reprint. At the moment, yes. It's sold out, but thank you so much. Thank you so much, Seth. Let's put a little flower in the chat if you are interested in buying the book, and I'll might move a little bit faster with production. And the funny thing that the book is there, I would just have to send it to print, which is very silly of me. But anyway, here I'm starting to create again the area where I will have my buttons for food, light, and water. And again, that was the description. I can leave a little gap, and maybe that's where the image is gonna go. Right here.
Woodval is saying, I want one. And me too. I'll definitely buy one.
I can't believe I never gave you the book. I mean, the problem is that I
can't believe it neither, Kladi.
I probably didn't even have it in California.
We have a couple people already. We have Malini and Louis, Jotirmia, George is asking, what about making it an ebook?
Okay, yeah, that will probably be a little bit more work because I already printed it. I cannot believe that I don't even have it here. I actually have it. It's right below behind the curtain, but it's fine. I can bring it tomorrow. We have more time tomorrow. Let's focus on the digital aspect.
I think the book is just such a haptic experience. I remember seeing it once when we met at the Adobe office in San Francisco, and I saw it. You have so many cool like foil treatments on it, and some really cool like spot gloss and stuff like that. And the paper is just really amazing. So yeah, it's just a very nice like haptic experience when you have the actual copy in your hands.
So the actual paper is a Fedrigoni paper, which is a Italian made in Italy, a made in Italy paper, which is recyclable. This is pretty much a super green book. I printed with a water-based ink. Is 360 in love with the planet. Is locally produced, locally printed in order to kill the footprint. There is no mercury, no chlorine. So, you know, it was about the planet, and it was with recycled material. Even the paper itself is not, is a little bit of white. It's got a little bit of residue because it's recycled as well. So it does have an experience. And the pages the middle part of the paper is actually mixed cotton and paper, recycled materials, so it's nice and thick and blue. And I had to print 3 times in order to have the image sticking out. So I have 2 layers of white and then a layers of CMYK to make the image sticks out. But let's keep going. Do we really have only half an hour left?
Yeah.
How am I gonna do
do.
everything that I want to do? I'm just gonna
let's just continue.
Let's do it. So thankfully we have tomorrow.
I think the question is answered. Everybody wants the book, and everybody would order a copy of it, including me. So Kladi, we are very hopeful that we'll get to get it soon.
I know. I'm so bad. I'm so bad. Can you imagine it? People want to buy my book, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna do it.
And here's a question in the chat. For packaging design, is better Illustrator or InDesign? Kladi, have you ever designed packaging in InDesign?
I usually work with Illustrator for packaging design, but I know that you come from a product design, and packaging is one of your main production. We were having a catch-up call with Julie, and she showed me some amazing work that she did. So I'm going to keep working, and I'm going to pass you the question because I know that you do much more packaging than me. So
yeah, for me, the answer definitely is Illustrator.
Yeah.
So just to kind of sum it up, what software I use for what? Illustrator is, I use it for branding, and I also create my branding presentations there. Although sometimes I create presentations in InDesign if I already have the assets in my library. So let's say I've created a branding identity, and then I take all the assets like color palettes, typefaces, character styles, all the kind of illustrations, patterns, put that into the CC library inside Illustrator, and then I can access it in InDesign. So I love InDesign for creating presentations that involve page numbers, that involve master pages and the layout like Kladi's working on right now. So for presentations, I use InDesign a lot, and also for when I create any kind of print, magazine, book, flyer with more than one page. Usually if it's a one pager, I design it inside InDesign, but if it's more pages, let's say it's a foldable brochure or a booklet or anything like that, I would design that inside InDesign. And probably even a poster, just because there are some really amazing exporting presets for color and imagery and so on that InDesign is offering. So anything that has to do with editorial, InDesign, my branding work, so logo design, designing color palettes, designing patterns, designing graphic elements for brands, also packaging, creating stickers, creating business cards, anything like that I do in Illustrator. So yeah, and then I also work in Adobe XD, which is where I create my social media posts. I love the auto animate feature there. So I love using XD as well. And then whenever I create packaging, I also usually go into Dimension, Adobe Dimension. For all of you who have not tried it out yet, it's an amazing app for creating 3D mockups. And you can literally just copy and paste from Illustrator onto the packaging surface, and then create really, really cool mockups for your different packaging, whatever it is. And there you can also access the amazing stock libraries and download assets, 3D assets from stock. And you can also go into stock.adobe.com/free. And there you can get a bunch of free assets, free 3D models, free even InDesign presets and Photoshop and Illustrator and whatnot. So check that out as well. Yeah, I also go across the board. And that's what I was talking about earlier. I love, the combination of the software because it can enrich the experience so much. So I can take that same, brand design, logo, color palette and typefaces from a static image, and I can bring in some motion with After Effects, or I can also do that in Adobe XD using the auto animate feature. And then I can also take that design and put it on a 3D object, and I can create some really cool lockups, and I can really preview the product in 3D. And I can also go ahead and create a video for the product. I can go and, take that 3D model into After Effects and create some really cool animation with it. So there is a lot of possibilities. And another thing that I also love using is Adobe Capture. We were talking earlier about, creating color palettes, I have actually an inspirational CC library where I add on to that whenever I'm outside. So whenever I'm using my phone, sometimes I'm going through the store and I really love a color palette of a product, or I go through nature and I really love the color palette. Let's say during autumn times, I will walk with my dog and I would take those pictures and extract the colors with Adobe Capture on my iPhone. And I would create myself inspirational libraries and I would access those in Illustrator later on. So I still have that
That's super
library.
cool.
It's a huge library, probably over 100 color palettes, and I always use it.
Super cool. So in the meantime, I was distributing the text. As you can see, the text is distributed on the layers. I changed the colors. It was starting to become confusing. I was playing around a little. Something like more just having an outline allows you to see a little bit better where the content is going. And by the way, when I work for a print project, I tend to use one single box. So what you're seeing me doing here is quite specific for digital production. And again, because I'm going to create buttons and I'm going to add hyperlinks and stuff like that, we are going to treat each single text box as a single object. So we really want to isolate them. And that's the only reason why I am splitting everything into different boxes here. And again, you can always toggle the visibility of the layout. And as you can see, I've used that. So let's say that I was talking with a client or with a director, and we were discussing before even doing all the work of placing the content. I could have just talked them through the way that I was thinking, here I'm going to place the image and here I'm going to place the buttons and so on. And they would have probably agreed or disagreed. And I would be able to, we would be able to move the rectangle around rather than do all the job of splitting the actual content around. And something else that I was doing, it was to set up the font, and that's where I stopped, because that's what I really wanted to share with you, some information regarding the text. So I'm going to press the W key in order to have a preview. We were before in a normal mode. When you're in a normal mode, you can see the pages, the margins, the all the different also grids and guides. While we will press the W key, we can shift in between the normal view and the preview. That will allow you to have a much cleaner look of the design. So the first thing that I wanted to talk to you about is accessibility. When you're producing elements or designs for web, is a very good custom to use a minimum of 16 point. Of course, you can always zoom in, so you can use a smaller font if you like, but it's a nice etiquette to stick to a minimum of 16 point size, and that's what I did. And also, before we move forward, I wanted to give a shout out to the amazing fonts at Adobe, fonts at adobe.com. So fonts.adobe.com. I said it wrong twice. And I'm using a lot the Spark font pack, which has very bold fonts pack that are fantastic for social media. And from here, you can right away activate your pack directly. As you can see, mine is already active. Or you can also explore families. So for example, the basic Gothic Pro is a font that I'm using a lot lately. You can select it, and then you can start to also activate different weight of the family. So you can have an access and flexibility. And of course, you can always preview your text. But this is only a little preview of all the font packs that are available, not to mention all the fonts that you can browse in Adobe Fonts. So this is a great way to start. InDesign layout also gives you a great start if you're working on layout. You have a very nice choice of typefaces. Otherwise, I love this one that is called I Love Sans. But let me see, I wanted to find another one that I use very often, and I believe that it was created during a stream here at Adobe Live.
That's super cool.
An amazing guy. If I see it, I will tell you. Oh, also, we should use this one, Fonts by Women. Okay, scratch everything. I'm going to show you the other one just because I want to show you the one that I was talking about, because again, it was created during Adobe Live. Let me see.
And we have Valdir here. Hi, Valdir. Good to see you, our
my
friend.
son is here. Valdir, we established that Valdir is my son.
Yeah.
Because me and his mom have a birthday on the same day. So
okay.
We decided that we're related.
That's so cool. And Anas is asking, good, how are you? How do you have time to learn all of these apps? Well, I guess it comes
by
with like
working on it.
By working on it and
work.
solving a specific problem that you have. Let's say I want to bring motion to my design. I go and find what kind of apps can I use to bring motion to my design, right? So by doing that, by solving problems, you kind of learn the different tools you have.
Okay, so I'm definitely going to stick to these wonderful fonts by women. I think that totally honor, we're getting inspired by Frida Kahlo, and we're getting inspired by these amazing women, curated by also a lovely lady, Ellen Lupton. I hope I pronounced the name right. And all we got to do here is simply to click on the little toggle here to activate your fonts, and they're going to be available right away into your machine. So maybe we can choose a different one to the one that I was using. Maybe for the titles, we can have these as Export or Edita. I'm liking this Edita as well. But the point is, as soon as we jump back into our InDesign, let's see, I wanted to try it on my little title. All I have to do is to back to my properties panel, and then from character, I think it was called Edita. Here it is already activated and ready for me to use. And all I have to do is, of course, to change the type size. But what I was talking about first is to set the body type. So what I've started to do is to set first the body type. And I was using this font that is called Basic Gothic Pro. And in order to work faster in InDesign and then applied any changes to the font at the same time, anywhere the font is applied, the smartest way to work is to use paragraph styles. Again, as any other panel, you will find it choosing the window menu on top, then in this case is styles and then paragraph styles. But we've already created our super useful little workspace. So the paragraph style is already there.
Claudia, before we start with the paragraphs, just for some of you who are just starting off with design, let's talk about the different types of paragraphs you probably need for a project like this one. So you'll probably have the header, the subheader, and the body text, right?
That's more for an article, I think. Like when you write an article, you have header and stuff like that. I mean, that's pretty general. When the hierarchy depends on the number of content. So in this case, because I'm creating an interactive document, I'm going to have a paragraph style. They're going to be buttons and the status of the buttons. So I'm going to have the hover, the rollover, and the normal status. So I'm going to dive into that. I didn't want to throw too much because we don't have much time, and we're going to look right away into create buttons and the status. But as Julia mentioned, you can create many different styles of paragraph styles, or also we're going to look into character styles, and this will depend, as I say before, on the kind of application that you're doing. So what Julia mentioned, having a title, header, subheader, and body copy, this is the general for when you write an editorial or an article. So you will have a nice hierarchy, and that's the reason of creating different paragraph styles. But I'm going to continue here with the body copy, and that's the one that I usually start with because that's the main paragraph that is usually takes over at least the 70 to 80% part of a book production, either digital or for print. So body copy will be the first one. And again, I've just created all the formatting. What I want to do is to make sure that I go under hyphenation and I untick the hyphenation, and that will do it for this. So I'm just going to click on OK. And then all I have to do is to select all the other part of the text and make sure that from the paragraph style, I can click on body copy to activate the body copy paragraph styles on them. I actually didn't want it on the temperature and Lumix, and here they are. And then for other part of the text, so in this case, temporary Lumix. Let's go ahead and apply it. If I do want to create a different change, so for example, I want to make this information look a little bit bolder, we can override the paragraph styles rules, so these settings, by using the character styles. The character style will allow you to create certain changes, but at the same time they will retain all the majority characteristic of your paragraph style. So let's go ahead and click on the plus icon, and again, that's a different way in which you can apply and format text. You can either style it, then capture it through a paragraph style and save it and then edit it, or you can simply create it directly through the dialog box from the new character style option. So what we did is first we created the new character style. I'm going to call it bold, or you can even call it like specific area. In this case, it's like temp and Lumix. So I know that that's going to be a recurring element for our little booklet. And then here we're going to change the font style into bold. Fantastic. And make sure that we click on preview, and you can see that the text is already changing. And if you want, you can make it even a little bit bigger. So for example, 18, and we can change the case to all caps. So we're still working. See, I don't have to put any font family name. All the basic information are taken off from the paragraph styles, and the character style will, you could also, for example, change the colors if you wish to. We're not going to do that, but I wanted to show you that that's the way that you can operate with the character styles. It retains the main settings, but it will override stuff like the weight or perhaps the colors. Fantastic. Yeah. So yeah, I don't. Sorry.
Good point. No, Marve is saying paragraph style sometimes allow us to complete a magazine page in half an hour instead of 1 hour.
Correct.
Thank you, paragraph styles.
I absolutely agree. And again, here, for example, for this little heading that for the pets information regarding the plants, I can head back to my paragraph style, make sure that I assign a body copy. Actually, let's assign a body copy to the entire paragraph. And then just select the word pets and then add the character style. So I know that that's going to be all caps and bold. And I'm going to do the same for the word light, although this is going to start to have more characteristics because it's going to be our button. Do I have 15 minutes? Yes, I think I do.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm going to do that today, but we're going to start tomorrow from this same point, just because I know that this is very crucial and it requires a few more steps. So I think it's better for people to see it today and tomorrow, which is create button. Have you ever created a button in InDesign, Judy?
I have actually created once. I have created a fully linked interactive visual experience inside InDesign. That's when I was telling you that I was just like kind of learning InDesign, and that's when I discovered interactive PDF. And I created a whole portfolio with it, with illustrations and buttons, and you will click on one illustration and certain things will pop up. So there is a lot of possibility there.
Absolutely. And I'm so excited that we had the chance to do this digital editorial. So again, that's another reason why I am using a separate text box. That is not my habit. Water. That is not my habit. Usually when I work in InDesign, I tend to work in one single big text box and then use the space before and after to create spacing. But in this case, we do need to have different boxes because we're going to use these boxes as buttons. So again, once you create all these little boxes, so we have our light, food, water, and then the tips, you can click and drag over to select them. I use the shortcut, remember the one that we did in order to make the frame as same as the content. We can do that exactly with the text as well. Option Command C, that's Alt Control C if you're working on a Windows. And as you can see in just 1 second, we have our little text box that it basically contains just the word. So we're going to distribute now our little buttons by heading to the properties panel and then select the align options, which are towards the bottom. Click and select align to objects. And from here, you're going to give it a specific spacing. Let's see what is this 24 looks like. I think it's kind of fun. Let's make it 25 just to make it a rounded number. And then I want to make sure that I align the text to the first word light. And you can also do that from the align option here. Just in this case, you want to make sure that you align to selection. And look what happened. What happened at the moment is that the actual word light went up, and that is going to disrupt the order of the buttons. So in order to select the object that you want to use for a selection, just click on it and there will be the reference one. So in this case, I'm going to click on to light to make sure that it's going to be the text aligning to the bottom and not vice versa, just like so. Okay, fantastic. So let's start to create our button. Actually, before doing so, I'm going to create some hover states. So let's finish up our character styles. And that's probably a good time to bring in one of Frida images so we can start to deal with some color. So I'm going to go ahead and just bring this image of Frida. And as I said before, we could use the color theme, the little color theme to lift one single color. If you were here at the beginning of the stream, we used it for the mood board. That's what we did for our from Photoshop with the capture service. But when we're working in InDesign, I would suggest to use the color theme tool just with one single color, just to have a little bit more of an organic palette and we know the color that we're looking at. Again, the color will be loaded right away here into the color theme and you can add them to your swatches and also add them to your library. So here we go. We have this new Plan Size colorful color theme. Now we can press the letter V to deselect it and click on the photo of Frida. We don't need it anymore. We had the lovely inspiration from our photo, and we can use these colors for or the colors that we choose before from Photoshop in order to modify the status of our buttons. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on our character styles, and I'm going to click on create new, which is a little plus icon at the bottom, and I'm going to double click to name this one roll over. So this is going to be the hover effect, and the only thing that I'm going to do is to change the color. So when it rolls over, I'm going to make it go on a light blue color, and then click on OK to apply. And then I'm going to create another status which is selected. And I'm going to create a different colors, maybe a little bit more bright. I'm going to use this lovely magenta color and click on OK. So the normal status will be the black that we're using, and then we have at least two other status to apply. But let's go ahead and click on the buttons and form in order to start playing with the buttons and form here inside our little digital document. I'm going to click on the word light and then select the type of button, which is going to be a button. It's very, very absolutely important to name your button here. So make sure that you call it light. Oops. There we go. And then press return. So now it's named. I do it many times. I write it and then I do something else and the button is gone. What you want to do here is to add an action. The action that we're going to be using is to trigger two buttons. So whenever I click one button, another button will show up. In this case, that will be the text. So the action that we're looking for is the show, hide, button, and forms. And then from here, we can choose the different appearance. So the normal, roll over, or click. So the normal is the black one that we have there. Then we can select the appearance of the roll over, double click on the text, head to the character styles. And because we're already being super neat in creating our character styles. And as I was mentioning at the very beginning, we are going to get our little workspace messy. We can get on the rollover status, which for some reason didn't change the color. Oh, let's do it right now.
Oh, okay. I just saw the color swapping.
Oh, so we probably need to find something that sticks out a little bit more. I'm just going to make it this brown color. And also I believe that we changed the other one into bold. So we want to make sure that that stays the same. So the rollover is bold. And then for click, we're going to use this one. We're going to actually call it click. So we know what we're doing. And I'm going to double click on the text in order to apply the click rollover status, and fantastic, is bold and is the magenta. That's exactly what we want. Beautiful. So the status normal will be black, rollover will be this maroon color, and then it's going to go into magenta. Let's set it back to normal, and let's now create a button for the text. So I'm going to select the text box from the buttons and forms, select buttons. Let's name it. This is going to be light description.
This is so cool. I can remember myself trying to figure this out back then.
And we want to leave let's press return. So the name is there. We don't need any action because we're just going to use this as a actual like text that displays on the other button. So this is just a title of a button in order to show and hide and use the action that we triggered before. And I'm gonna untick hidden until triggered because I want that to display, because it's our first one, so we want that to display at all time. Now let's go back and do the same with food. And I know we have very few minutes, so I'm gonna go a little fast and we can repeat tomorrow and finish it tomorrow with the other one. So here we have the food button. Again, click and show and hide, and we can real quick add the different status. So the rollover and then the click status. Just like so. And once we're done that, we want to make sure that we click on the actual visibility. So we don't mind about the visibility of the buttons. We want the buttons always visible, but we definitely want to hide the light description because we need to have space for the food description to come up. And in order to do so, I'm going to go ahead and select the food description, which is here, and place it into a new little text box, which we're going to display just in the same place. And this is going to look ugly before it looks pretty. So we're just going to display this one on top of our text. So don't worry, at the moment it's looking messy, but it's going to all make sense. And we're going to create this button and call it food description.
Yeah, we have a couple minutes left, so shoot your last questions. Otherwise, we're going to be continuing tomorrow. But shoot us any last questions if you have. There is a question by Anna. Those buttons work if you save in PDF?
Yes. So let me get there. I got like 2 minutes, so I really want to show how to do that. So with food description, we, again, very important to put the title. In this case, we're going to click on hidden until triggered, so they're not going to display at the same time. And now is time to set the actual action. So when we click on light, we're going to here be working with the visibility, and you have here the option of have it visible, show, or hide. So the buttons, they're always going to be there, so we're not going to worry about them. We can ignore it. For the light description, when we click on light, we want it to show. For the food description, which is the text that is on top, we want it to hide, because when we click on light, we only want the light description to show. And then when we select on the food button, in this case, we want to hide the light description and show the food description. And again, the settings of the buttons can be ignored. Fantastic. So tomorrow I'm going to show you how to export these settings. But for now, what we can do to make sure that everything works, make sure to press Command S or Control S to save. We're going to leverage our EPUB interactivity preview, and that's why we created it there. So make sure to press the play button that will load the actual status and kind of refresh and update. And as you can see, we can already notice that because we've done a nice, neat job with our little text here, we don't see the two texts overlapping because we say that we were going to hide the food description. So we can click on the light. First of all, we know that when we hover on the buttons, the actual hover status works. So the colors actually changes. If we click on light, we have the Seropedia, the description of the light. But if we click on food, now we have the description of the food appearing. So the buttons are actually working. And I don't know how many minutes we have. I think that
we have about 1 minute left.
Okay, so the only thing that I'm left to do, I've noticed that they're not aligned. So I'm just going to go ahead into my properties panel and align them, and perhaps do a really, really quick recap of what we've done today here. So we started by creating mood boards and, of course, celebrating the amazing Frida Kahlo. And then we discovered the frame tool. Then we jumped into Photoshop and used the capture service in order to leverage the color of an image and create a color palette. With that, we added into our libraries. Then we started and we went back into InDesign to create our master pages and started to create our grid that we're going to use for our InDesign, for our digital magazine that we're going to export tomorrow into a link. And then we explored paragraph styles, character styles, and we started to learn how to create buttons. But don't worry, I know that I went fast. Tomorrow we're going to pick it up from there, and I'm just gonna bring back, if I have it there, let's see if my organization is there. So yeah, tomorrow we're going to work with more Adobe Stocks and Adobe Illustrator templates, and we're going to look at the content aware wrap InDesign feature, and we're going to also have a little bit of a play with Julie in doing a work in share for review, which is an amazing feature of InDesign. But I guess it's time to say goodbye.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Make sure to stay tuned for some doodle therapy later on with Alice Lee and Anne Alonso. And just stay tuned for the program, create some stationery later on, and we'll see you guys tomorrow, same time, same place. Thank you so much, Kladi. Really excited to see you again tomorrow.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Julie. Thank you so much, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.